Hi, Natalie. Apologies, I'm just responding to this question, but let's go through it. At least you'll have it, so you can always go back to it whenever you want to. And please carry on as usual. Anything you send me, I will do it. I've just been slightly overwhelmed this week with a bit of work. But let's kick off. So I'm sure you've read, what's going on with this question. I've read through the question. We pretty much have two products here in effect, where we have a full marathon and a half marathon. I'm just going to go through each question and arrive at question 3. So we have, if you like, we're given the revenue for each, how much we're going to receive from each full marathon runner, and that's given to us up here at 55, and we're given the revenue we expect to receive from a half marathon runner. We're given the variable costs, so in effect we can find the contribution. And this is what's really critical. Again, think of this as in Greg's. Imagine you're selling products and you're selling these could be sausage rolls and this could be donuts. The issue here is that what they've also said to you here is that you're selling them in a combination. So in effect, for every 2 donuts you're selling 1.4 sausage rolls, or for every 2 full marathons you're selling 1.4. Personally, I would have kept it at for every 20 full marathons you're selling 14, or for every 10 you're selling 7. So this is your combination, this is your batch, if you like. That gives you a clue from the beginning. So if you can think of it like that, that's kind of how you must sell these, as a pack of 10 and 7. That's the ratio in which you must sell it, right? Which means that when you sell a pack like this, you must then think of the contribution coming from here and the contribution coming from here, and then you can if you have a target contribution, you can then kind of find that. So you can almost sell this as one product, so to speak. That gives you a clue as to where we're going. So let's start. Let's kick off here. So this very first question. So quickly, looking at this, we find that the full you've done this already. The full marathon had a contribution of 55 minus 18 pound 20, which was 30. Sorry, let me just get my calculator. 55 minus 18 pound 20, which was 36 pound 80. That was your full marathon, and your half marathon had a nice one of, just put the brackets around here, of 18. So this is what we have. We have this kind of we know what the individual contributions are. So for question 1, they want you to focus just on the full marathon, and we are told what the total costs are, if you like. So we know what the full costs are. That comes to 385,000. Therefore, if the question just says, what is the margin of safety? Well, let's just find out what break-even first is. So 385 divided by 36.8. 385,000 divided by 36.8. That gives us, we need 1046. I'm just going to round up to 2 full marathon entries to actually make this happen. We intend on selling 20,000. I'll just change my pen color. So if we intend on selling 20,000, therefore we are willing to go with a margin, if you like, of this as the difference, as this sort of difference in margin, if you like. We are willing, basically this is our actual, or if you like, whether our budget, this is what we plan to go for, and this is our break even. So we can fall by 20,000 minus, we can fall by 9,538 entries, and we would just be breaking even. So we're okay if we can get that. I mean, that's by how much we're okay. And this is always divided by how much it is we can fall by. So you do that and multiply this by 100%, and that should give you 47%. So the next question kind of is pretty much what we've been looking at, this constant sales mix. Hopefully, as again, like I say, as you start playing with this a bit more and more, you start sort of seeing what's going on. So the key point here is we highlighted that the sales, the fact that you have different inputs coming into the process means that we can't just average out the contribution as though they're equal, because they're not. They're in a ratio of 2 to 1.4, if you want to use 10 to 7, or if you want to use 20 to 14. That's the ratio in which they are. So the question here is, we know, the question is asking, what is the break-even revenue? So, well, we need to find the weighted break-even, if you like, C over S, ultimately. So you could kind of multiply, find the contribution for 20,000. I mean, you could find the contribution for 20,000 units and multiply that by 36.8 plus 14,000 times 18 divided by the total revenue times 20,000. You could go this long route, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. 30, and find your answer. And your C over S ratio, you could go ahead and do that. I'm not going to, I mean, I know this is going to work because this is the total contribution divided by the total, and then I'll find it over there. This is one great way to do it. I'm just going to go a little kind of faster. So you see, the argument here is, I know this is the ratio 2 to 1, or 20 to whatever. So this is the ratio 2 to 1.4, which, or 20 to 14, or 10 to 7. It doesn't really matter. The key point here is, I know that the C over S ratio of so this is the answer, but I'm just going to show you another method so that you can start seeing different ways of looking at this. Well, if I know the C over S ratio of full marathon, which is 36.8 divided by 55, and I know the C over S ratio of half marathon, which is 18 over 30, I'm just going to change my pen color. Well, I know that if I'm going to mix these guys up, this is coming in at a ratio. I mean, I want 100. Technically, if this was the only thing, I'd have 100% of this, right? If this was the only one, I have 100%. But I actually want this in the ratio of 20 to 14. So I can actually multiply this by 20 over 34, which is the ratio to add the two together and take 20 and multiply this by 14 over 34. Or I could have done this by 2 over 3.4 and 1.4 over 3.4, or 10 over 17 and 7 over 17, because right, for ratio you have to add the two things you're interested in and then use one as a fraction. And you can do this if you like, and find and then of course then add them together, because you're basically taking a fraction of this and a fraction of this. But because 20 over 34 plus 14 over 34 is 1, you're basically taking a fraction of this and a fraction of this to find out what the weighted average is according to this. The average would be 17 over 34, 17 over 34, half and half, but it isn't. It's weighted 20 more, if you like. So this is your kind of straightforward way of looking at it. But I think it's good to start thinking about it this way, because you can get a question that looks at it like this. You get the actual original C over S ratio, and you just use the ratio of the sales mix to put them together. So if you do this, you will arrive at 65%. So the C over S ratio, I mean, if you multiply this and multiply these guys, you'll arrive at 65%. So the C over S ratio becomes, if you like, 0.65, and we know that a break-even contribution is equal to fixed costs, and we're told that fixed costs are equal to 385,000. Therefore, break-even revenue was equal to 385,000 divided by 0.65. 385,000 divided by 0.65, which gives you 592,307. What is that? That's 592. So roughly that's D. Cool, great. Now, with C, it's an interesting question. So what are we saying here? We know right now, hopefully you start getting kind of familiar with what's going on. So right now, your contribution is 385, and you're told that you must also meet in addition to this an additional target profit of 500,000. So you now need to meet 885,000 contribution. And this was how I did this, because I think it's good you see it in different ways. So that's your contribution. Now, you know, like I said earlier on, that when you sell, you have to sell 2 in this ratio, 2 to 1.4. So, or 10 to 7, or 20 to 14. That's the key point here. So it means, right, that when I sell, imagine I sold a set. So if I sold a set, the contribution coming from this, right, which I have, which I really think is the better way to work with this, is 36.8 times 10, which is equal to 368. So imagine I'm just selling from my shop. I must sell in this combination, and 7 times 18, which is 126. Oops, 126. So this is one way of doing it. So now I'm saying that every time I sell a set of these 10 to 7, let's call this one batch, one pack, I could have sold 20 to, it doesn't really matter how you go. You could have gone 2 to 1.4. It doesn't really matter. But the key point is that you do 10 to 7, and then you have this kind of contribution coming in. Now, what is this contribution? This contribution from both of them, if you like, is 386 plus 126. And this is equal to 512. So if I'm trying to hit a contribution, because this is the contribution I'm trying to hit, right? 885. That's my contribution. So, well, the question is, how many packs of these do I have to sell? This pack is giving me 512, so I literally have to sell 885 divided by 512, and that will tell me how many batches of 10 to 7s I have to sell. So I'll do that first. 885,000 divided by 512 gives me tells me basically, oh yeah, you have to sell 1728, or if you like, 1729 batches of these 10 to 7s. Well, I mean, in a batch, I have 10 full marathons and I have 7 half marathons. So therefore, in a batch, I have 1729. So in a batch, I have, what do I have in a batch? In a batch, I have, I mean, I am rounding up quite a bit here, so bear with me. So in a batch, therefore, I have 1729 times 10, and that's 17290, and 7 times, in a batch, I have 7 half marathons. So when I do 7 times 1729, I have 12,103. So I've rounded up quite a bit here, but if you look at your answers are 17,915 and 12,540. So really, if you did what I've just done, because I'm just rounding up anyhow, if you kept all your zeros kept all your points in your calculator, you will arrive at, if you like, A, which is 17,915, and the other being 12,540. But the principle is the key. The key issue here is the principle, and that's what I want to emphasize. What I want to explain clearly. You have total contribution of 885 to achieve. Imagine it's your shop, but you have to sell these things in batches of 2 to 1.4. You could argue that each of these is bringing in, I'm just going to do it differently, 36.8, and this is bringing in, if you like, 18 pounds. So my contribution, if you like, my contribution batch is 36.8 times 2, and this is here 73.6, and here I have 1.4 times 18, and here I have 25.2. So I must sell it in this order. You see, I can't sell one first and then sell the other. This is the way I must sell them. So therefore, every time I sell a batch, I get 73.6 plus 25.2, which gives me 99 1. So the question is, I'm trying to hit 885. So the question here is, well, how many batches, if you like, of this combination do I need to sell? So I know that in every batch I have 2 full marathons and 1.4 half marathons. Whatever I get, however many batches I get in the end, I just multiply by the individuals because that's what they really want. So if I divide 885 divided by 99.1, I will get 8930.373 batches. And for half marathons, multiply this by 2. Sorry, for full marathons, multiplied by 2, which is 17,816, which is closer to what we actually want. And for half marathons, multiply this by 1.4, because there's 1.4 in each batch. I hope that's been helpful. Let me know in class anyway.